All right, today we are opening the gates to one of France's most incredible castles. I mean, look at this place. It's a true fairy tale fortress, the kind of thing you think only exists in storybooks. This is the Château de Pierrefonds.
Now, if you're looking at this castle and thinking, hey, I've seen that somewhere before, well, you probably have, because this medieval stronghold has a second life as a bona fide movie star.
That's right. Its incredible towers and massive walls have been the backdrop for huge productions. We're talking epic fantasies like Game of Thrones and big-time thrillers like The Da Vinci Code. It's honestly one of the most recognizable castles on the planet, thanks to Hollywood.
But, all that movie magic is just one part of its story. So, what's really going on behind these walls? What's the true history of this place? Let's peel back those layers and find out.
To really get Pierrefonds, we have to go back in time. Way back to an era when a castle wasn't just a pretty home. It was a machine of war. It was built for one reason above all else: power and defense.
So the whole story kicks off way back in the 13th century, founded by French royalty. It stood for centuries, but eventually it fell into ruin. But then, and this is the key part, it got a massive top-to-bottom reconstruction in the 19th century, which is what gives it that picture-perfect look we see today. And fast forward to 1998, when it got the ultimate stamp of approval, a UNESCO World Heritage designation.
Now, if you're into architecture, this place is a Gothic masterpiece. That whole style is about creating this incredible sense of awe and height, with these massive stone walls and tall, skinny towers that just soar into the sky.
And where they built it? That was no accident. They stuck it right on top of a hill overlooking everything. It was a genius military move, giving them a perfect view of any approaching trouble. But it was also a statement, a huge, unmissable symbol of the king's power.
And to give you a sense of the sheer scale here, the fortifications weren't just for the castle. Oh no, they wrapped around the entire town. We're talking about 2 kilometers of defensive walls. It was a whole fortified system, an absolute fortress.
But like any good story, there's a twist. The castle didn't stay this powerful medieval stronghold forever. After centuries of damage and just plain neglect, it was basically a pile of ruins, a ghost of what it once was. That is, until it hit this huge turning point, a grand, ambitious reinvention in the 19th century. The architect in charge, Eugene Viollet-le-Duc, had this amazing vision. He wasn't just patching up old walls. His goal was, in his words, to recreate the original medieval architecture. Basically, he wanted to build the perfect, idealized version of a medieval castle, a dream of the past brought to life. And that restoration story didn't just end in the 1800s, it's kept going. There were major renovation projects as recently as the 1990s, and there are constant preservation efforts today. This place isn't some dusty relic, it's a living, breathing piece of history.
Okay, the outside is obviously spectacular, but now it's time to step through those massive gates and see what kind of treasures are waiting for us inside.
So get this, the castle is also a museum, and a really, really good one. It's filled with an incredible art collection, including pieces by famous French masters like Nicolas Poussin and Jean-Baptiste Simeon Chardin. It's like a world-class art gallery hidden inside a fortress. And the art is just the start. You've also got these amazing, tangible connections to the past. We're talking actual medieval furniture, gleaming suits of armor that probably saw a battle or two, and even royal carriages. It really feels like you've walked onto a movie set, except it's all real.
One of the coolest parts, I think, is how the walls themselves tell stories. A lot of the rooms are covered in these gorgeous medieval frescoes. These are detailed paintings that show you exactly what everyday life was like in Pierrefonds hundreds of years ago. It's a history book painted right on the walls. And as you explore, you'll stumble upon other amazing features, like the famous Tour de la Croix, the Tower of the Cross, which has these breathtaking views. And there's even a beautiful historic church, the Church of St. Remy, tucked right inside the castle grounds.
So when you put all of this together, the architecture, the history, the art, what you get is this powerful, enduring legacy, a story that is quite literally set in stone.
Okay, this next part is kind of mind-blowing. The castle's influence stretched way beyond France. It's said that this idealized, romantic version of a medieval fortress was so revolutionary that it actually inspired some of the greatest artists in history. We're talking about Michelangelo and Leonardo da Vinci. How wild is that?
And that legacy is as strong as ever today. Château de Pierrefonds is a massive tourist draw, pulling in over 500,000 visitors every single year. All these people coming from all over the world just to experience a little bit of its magic.
And really, that UNESCO World Heritage Site label, it's more than just a fancy title. It's the world officially saying, this place matters. It's recognition of its deep cultural importance, a treasure that's being protected for all of us.
So that brings us to a final, really interesting thought. The castle we admire today is for the most part a 19th century dream of what the Middle Ages looked like. Which leaves us with a pretty fascinating question to think about. When we restore the past this completely, are we actually preserving history? Or are we just creating a perfect fantasy of what we wished it had been?